Hello and welcome to the first video of many tutorials that I will create over time, hopefully if I'm not lazy. Starting off with the first video, today I'll be trying my best to teach you the absolute basics of Blender with my really capable Blender knowledge. I'm actually pretty smart, don't worry. This video is more targeted towards people that have not used Blender before and want to learn something new. However, if you do have prior experience using Blender, you can still watch the video because we need the watch time. I mean, it's good to watch it. Just before I begin, I would like to introduce myself. Hi. My name is IndieWave and I'm like a second host for this channel. I'm a game developer and I like creating videos explaining things that I do or showing off cool stuff. On this channel I'll be creating videos about tutorials or any other topics that I'd like to talk about. If you're interested in seeing more of my content, my YouTube channel will be in the description. Anyways, that's it for my introduction, so let's get back to the video. To begin working with Blender, you should totally open the software. Once you do, you should be greeted with the default layout. The main area in the center is the 3D viewport where you work on your models and scenes. You really need this or you won't know what you're doing. On the right is the outliner, which lists every object in your scene, and below that is the properties panel where you can adjust various settings. Right at the bottom, you'll find the timeline, which is useful for animation. That's all you need to know about Blender's interface. Simple, right? Navigating your viewport is very useful to look around in your scenes and actually work on them. So I'll teach you how to do that now. You could begin by rotating your camera, and to do that, hold the middle mouse button and just drag around your scene. You can zoom it in and out of the viewport using the scroll wheel. And finally, you can pan around by holding shift and the middle mouse button. I recommend giving yourself about 30 seconds just to practice this so you don't forget.
Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working?
After you finish breakdancing around the cube, I want to explain one last thing about navigation. The final bit of navigation that I want to talk about is orthographic view. If you hold Alt and middle mouse button and then drag up, down, left or right, you'll go into orthographic view. This is a quick way to whip around, however you can also use the numpad to switch to specific faces. I find this useful when halving objects, for example. However, you might find this useful for other situations as well. If you would like to move an object along a specific axis, press X, Y or Z after pressing G. For instance, pressing G and then pressing Z moves the object up or down. It's the same principle for rotating and scaling objects. Give it a shot and try to move the default cube up, down, left and right. Pressing S and dragging your mouse allows you to scale the object up or down. And you can confirm this with left click. With this knowledge, try create some unique shapes like whoa. To rotate an object, press R. Now move your mouse to adjust the rotation and also press left click to confirm. Now, say you want your cube to have a little sphere body. Adding objects to the viewport is really easy. To add a new object, press Shift A to open the Add menu. From the menu, select Mesh and choose an object, such as a cube, sphere or plane. Since we want a sphere body, select sphere, unless you want a different body. But go sphere please, it means the sphere body. Now, moving on to Edit Mode, arguably the most important thing in Blender. Edit Mode allows you to make changes to an object shape. Go into Edit Mode, select the object and press Tab. You can also change the mode in the top left of the viewport. In Edit Mode, you can work with the individual vertices, edges or faces. Vertices are the little dots in the corners of the cube. You can switch between the vertices, edges or faces by pressing 1, 2 and 3. If the vertices are a dark orange, they are most likely selected, so just deselect them by clicking anywhere. You can also select all by pressing A. Edges are obviously the edges of the cube you can use and select them and manipulate them in any way you want. And finally, there's Face Mode, which you can use to manipulate the faces of a mesh. After you discover how to use all of them, you can move on to hotkeys. Hotkeys are like the final boss of Blender. You need to know hotkeys to actually change an object shape, but luckily there's only two that you really need to know right now. To extrude, select your object, go into Edit Mode, select the face and then press E. You can drag up and down to extrude well up and down, and this is the same principle for doing anything else. You can lock it by pressing Z, Y or X, so you can do them accurate extrusions. The other hotkey that you have is scaling. It's the same principle as extruding, but you scale instead. Congratulations, I've taught you the basics of Blender in under 5 minutes. But I might have explained everything a bit too fast. However, you are always free to go back through the video just in case you've forgotten something. Now, using everything you've learned, I'll show you how to create a really low poly plant pot. And I'll teach you one last thing about the properties panel. Begin by creating a cube. If you just open Blender and you have the default cube, it is tradition to delete it and make another one for absolutely no reason. I don't know why we do this, we just do it. From there, go into Edit Mode and select the top face of the cube. Once you have the top face selected, press E and S. You can combo both of these to extrude and scale it inwards. Press left click to confirm, and then select the inner top face you have just created. Press G and then Z to lock it on the Z axis, and then move the face downwards to create the pot. To add a bit more detail to the pot, go back to Object Mode and select the pot. Press the wrench icon in the Properties panel, and press Add Modifier. What you want to search for is the Bevel modifier. The Bevel modifier smoothens out edges so it looks a bit cleaner and not too blocky. I find this makes the plant pot look a lot nicer and a bit more low poly. and I set the value to around 0.02 for the best effect. That's pretty much the foundation of using Blender. With these basics you can start creating. If you want to see videos more like this in the future, make sure to subscribe, and if you need support with anything you can join the Discord server. Let me know how your Blender experience has been in the comments below. Thank you for having me as your host. This has been fun. Goodbye.